Hello, happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of the Now Showing podcast, where I go over new films that you can watch now in theaters. And that is exactly the case for my first one, which is the film 65. This new film takes place in the past. Way back to a time when dinosaurs ruled the earth. Hence the title 65 for 65 million years ago. It stars Adam Driver as a pilot and father living on a distant planet. He takes a job ferrying an exploratory crew, which will keep him away from his family for a couple of years. But he does this in order to make enough money to continue treatments for his daughter, who's gravely ill. Soon things go wrong. The ship gets hit by asteroid field and crashes on the surface of Earth. All of his passengers are dead, save for a little girl with whom he can barely communicate. Their only chance to survive is finding the remaining escape pod some distance away to make it off the surface before the asteroids return. But the asteroids, as you might imagine, aren't his only challenge. I love Driver, and I love the moody trailer for this film, which reveals most of the big plot twists in a way that the film also does early on. In fact, this film has quite a little introductory sequence with the credit title sequence of 65 appearing about 15 minutes in, which is quite a long way into a movie that is just about 90 minutes. It's pretty straightforward. A man from an advanced civilization dropped into a hostile world having to protect a young girl. It's also a shorter film, as I mentioned, clocking in around 90 minutes. Seeing it, the entire experience, though, feels much longer. That's the problem. Driver is fine, but even he seems a little bored at times. There should have been more tension and excitement here, but most of it falls somewhat flat. I liked the idea. I liked the premise. The effects are okay. The story is just okay. This is probably the kind of film that you can wait and check out late at night when it comes on streaming. And you know what? If you miss it entirely, that's okay too. It's now playing in theaters. I gave it only 1.5 out of 5 stars. It was pretty bland considering the potential. Next up for me is Chang Can Dunk. This is a new film that debuted on Disney Plus today. We all have dreams, and sometimes those dreams are big, sometimes they're practical, but they help us spur to be better, to reach higher, to go further than we think we can go. This latest film from Disney Plus, we meet a teen who is so focused on achieving an athletic feat. Chang, played by Bloom Lee, is a huge basketball fan. He's also a high school student that isn't that popular. He's in band, but he dreams of making the varsity squad for the basketball team. He's afraid to try out, though, because he doesn't want to get stuck on the bench. When a girl named Christy, played by Zoe Renee, shows up at school and joins the band, he wants to impress her. But the problem is, the school star basketball player, Matt, played by Chase Littlefield, seems to be standing in his way. To win Chase's respect and impress Christy, Chang declares that he can dunk. Soon after that, it evolves into a bet, leaving him with just a few weeks to prepare. After finding a coach, played by Dexter Darden, and starting a rough training regimen, Chang hopes to prove all the doubters wrong and achieve his dreams. But along the way, he might just find something more important. It's pretty standard fare. It's a Disney Plus film that's aimed at teens and young adults, but it's a piece of family-friendly entertainment, which is always nice. I might have not been the specific target audience, so I was kind of on the fence going in, but you know what? This film won me over. It's got heart, just like Chang, and it's also a fun, emotional journey. There's humor, there's pathos. It provides a story that's unexpected and pulls you in. I loved Bloom Lee in the lead role, and he brings Chang to life in a way where you can't help but root for him. I also enjoyed Darden as his coach. That's one of the best relationships in the film, the way they bond and progress back and forth. The rest of the cast is solid. The first half of the film progresses much as you'd expect in this kind of a film, with a twist that at first made me nervous about halfway through, but the film turns it around, building Chang into a better person and focusing on the relationship with his mother, which ended up being kind of richly emotionally satisfying. The plot here isn't much of a surprise, but it's not about the way a story unfolds. It's about how you invest in these players. And you know what? I invested in Chang and his journey, and I think a lot of other people who are watching the film will feel the same. This film felt like something of a win for Disney TV Plus. I gave Chang Can Dunk 3.5 stars out of 5. It is, as I mentioned, now streaming on Disney TV Plus. The last film I'm going to touch on today is also a new streaming film. This one dropping on Netflix this morning, Luther, The Fallen Sun. The latest from Netflix is a continuation of a long running British series. Neil Cross created the series based on the flawed but excellent detective John Luther, who's played by Idris Elba. The series ran for 5 seasons. Now we get a film continuing Luther's journey. This film finds him crossing paths with a dangerous killer, played by Andy Serkis, who manages to dig up dirt on Luther and get him thrown into prison early in the film after he gets too close to uncovering what Serkis' character is doing. With Luther off the board, the killer is free to continue his work and taunt the detective who was once hunting him. Soon, Luther breaks free and joins forces with a new DCI played by Cynthia Erivo to bring the killer to justice. I've long enjoyed the series Luther, so this film was really made for me. It might not be completely accessible for those who didn't follow the series because there are nods to the long history of the show, but it's a standalone story and you can jump in and follow the plot of what's happening pretty easily. Elba is incredible in this role, and he finds a great foil in Serkis. I really enjoyed Erivo in a supporting role as well. It's a dark case, but it's always been kind of in a dark series. It was very emotionally engaging. I enjoyed the story here, and I was moved by the production of the film, which is one of my favorites of the year so far. If you're a fan of this genre, or you were a longtime viewer of the series, I would say this is pretty much a must watch. I enjoyed this a lot. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. As I mentioned, it is now streaming on Netflix today after a short theatrical run. Well, that's going to wrap it up for me, but Eric and I will be back on Sunday night at 7 Eastern for This Week at the Movies. We will be reviewing Scream 6, which was the big theatrical release this week, and looking at the rest of the Scream franchise. So until then, I hope you've enjoyed this broadcast.